Well then, so I guess we can be having a look at right now first what was actually released on the Xbox Store, which was maybe by some considered a leak or whatnot, but they simply do have some different processes in there for Xbox. It's the same with, for example, patches that have to be like certified and whatnot, so I guess it's gonna be a similar idea. But nonetheless, or like yesterday or the day before, you've gotten some information on the God Pack Freyr for Age of Mythology Retold and what it's gonna be about. You probably have already seen that, but nonetheless, maybe right now looking at the details as well. I guess let's maybe increase the size of the font. So therefore, as we were speculating and as it was looking like, Freyr is gonna be a major god that's gonna be added to the Norse, and he's gonna be coming with minor gods as well. That was definitely like an open question if that's going to happen or not. But yeah, we got actually 3 for him, and pretty big question for me is going to be if they're gonna be really only exclusive to Freyr, or if they're gonna be somehow trying to mix them into the other gods or not. But nonetheless, I just like, if you're gonna be even going through the descriptions and whatnot, I'm just having a bit of a hard time imagining that some of the combinations are not gonna be really important for certain matchups and strategies and whatnot. So yeah, it kind of looks like you're gonna have to really buy all of it if you are gonna be wanting to be competitive, and it looks like that there's gonna be probably quite a bit of a bigger and higher cadence to get in some new content, and therefore having to also open your wallet for that if you want to be staying competitive, then maybe in the other games, because I mean, like, you are having like what, one at this point they are kind of slowed into like one expansion. They used to be having like almost not like necessarily 2 per year, but definitely 1 per year, even in AoE 2. And we probably in Age of Mythology going to be having a bit faster frequency of that, and higher frequency rather. So Freyr God Pack, new type of expansion, or for Age of Mythology Retold, challenge friends with major god Freyr and 3 minor gods, Ullr, Aegir and Vidar, and leap into battle with their new god powers, myth units and technologies. Battle your way across the frozen north in an exclusive mythical battle scenario, crushing your opponents with the wrathful power of your new gods. So, Freyr himself, he's gonna be major god of fertility and kingship, focusing on defense and technologies rather than aggressiveness. So we kind of don't entirely know that many details of them. I think that in the video where they were showcasing it today, there is like one shown special power of his, like upgrade. We don't entirely know those. But looking at this, you're probably gonna be having some major ability of the god, like having technologies being cheaper, probably like 10% or something like that. It's probably gonna be the idea. What is gonna be for him? Defensive, I'm assuming maybe higher hit points on buildings he's gonna be getting. And that's why they removed it from Hades. Yeah, because they can like remove things from one gods and move them to other ones. And since Hades is losing the extra HP, right? If I'm not at this point misremembering, I think he is. Then you are simply going to be having that probably moved here. Same as, for example, they moved the faster construction from Fuxi, or Fushi, from Age of Mythology, Tale of the Dragon from the Chinese into Chronos. Then this is maybe gonna be something similar. And yes, Samero, I'm gonna be looking at it as well. I'm just gonna at this point starting kind of like the section at the end of the stream about the Inforce, so I'm gonna be looking at it as well. So yeah, that's maybe kind of like my idea of Freyr, probably what he's gonna be having as major god bonuses. It's gonna be kind of dangerous, no? Because getting technological discounts all across is making our economy a lot smoother. You could be saying that from the other side, plenty of the upgrades have been made a lot cheaper in Retold, so it's gonna be maybe less impactful that way. But I guess maybe economical upgrades are gonna be easy for him to get. That's gonna be probably impactful. And maybe it's gonna be actually curiously helpful in the early stages of the game. Because if you could be getting like 10% cheaper medium infantry, for example, that's already pretty good help. Because first, it's free, it's cheap upgrade, so easy to get. And if you're gonna be getting it even easier and faster than your opponent, might be having something there. So it's gonna be probably good bonus, I'm expecting. And Freyr's god power is Gullin Bursti, which temporarily summons Freyr's magical giant golden boar to defend a town center. So basically sentinels, but different. No, so that's of course I now fitting also with the defense. You can cast it upon even teammates, as far as I'm aware. Thinking I've read it somewhere already, or maybe it was mentioned even in the video that you're gonna be watching. No, I mean, like, the problem with this is, the major problem with defensive Norse god is how do you get favor? Right? Because Norse require fighting to get favor, and therefore if you are gonna be turtling, you can't do that. So you're gonna be still forced to battle. So there's gonna have to be some, I don't know, different way to use the defensiveness, let's put it that way. What I'm slightly afraid of, if you're gonna be having higher building hit points, for example, what could happen is that you will be having basically like stronger forward bases, right? So you'll be maybe even more obnoxious in classical, just immediately heading for the forward base because it's gonna be harder to destroy, right? That could be possibly a problem. So yeah, that's kind of like the issue. We're gonna have to see how it's gonna be handled with the favor cost. But that's something that's gonna be also showcased in the video, because there's one upgrade that is kind of touching on that a bit, but in just like a limited way. Maybe there are gonna be more upgrades like that as well, because in my opinion, he's gonna have to need the help. If he's supposed to be turtle, he needs the help with favor. Just like no way around it. Or we're gonna be having, as Somero is right about now saying, just kind of like some kind of boom into only units and just like ignoring the favor, maybe getting it later. Maybe that you will be having that. It's definitely gonna be like a different Norse, that's for sure. No, Uller, classical age Norse god of oaths and archery, improving defenses and longhouse units, so further kind of like into the defenses. Improves your defenses. So I guess, I mean, like, that's weird, because you already gonna be, Heimdall is having safeguard for the cheaper towers, but I think that was also changed. At this point, I unfortunately don't have it in my mind's eye. Well, what is the change for it in Retold? Maybe they removed something from that to give it to Uller here. But it feels like something like safeguard is gonna be coming for Uller. Making cheaper walls, better towers, something along those lines probably. And longhouse units, improving them as well. Okay, like, sure. Uller's God Power Asgardian Bastion allows you to erect a powerful hill fort like fortification 1H earlier than usual. His Mythology unit is Draugr, an undead archer whose arrows penetrate multiple targets. No, that Asgardian Bastion is definitely having a potential to be problematic. It's already quite a bit of a contention point in Age of Empires 4. Defensive landmarks are straight broken there. And they are afraid to nerf them, or I don't know, they don't want to nerf them properly. So they have the Barbican for the Chinese with huge range. Then you have the Red Fortress and stuff like that, and Yorkshire Palace, or Berkshire Palace actually. So they are pretty broken in AoE 4. So I'm afraid if we're not gonna be heading into that direction as well. What we have already noticed is, I think it's gonna be in the video for the Red Plenty, so I'm gonna be even just like getting ahead a bit. And that is that it's taking a longer time to get set up, so you can't be just like, I don't know exactly how long it is. We're gonna be seeing if it's something like time shift or if it's even longer. But I'm kind of seeing that this is gonna be very easy to secure secondary gold mine for you, or well, TC probably you don't care about too much, but the secondary gold mine is probably gonna be a lot easier to get. You're just gonna be building it there, and suddenly you don't have a problem, and that's a problem for the game flow. Because having safe second gold mine is breaking a lot of things in AOM. It's really one of the more important pieces, how to influence like the flow of the game for in your favor. So having that basically immediately safe is something that's gonna have a potential. So we'll have to wait and see if it's gonna be too strong or not. But I'm having a bit of a feeling it might be having some problems in certain usages. No, and Draugr, basically like Pierce arrows, so I guess somewhat interesting, but if it's gonna be useful, I don't know. Because I mean, like, you would have to be, that's basically like chakrams in Age of Empires 2. But the thing is that in AoE 2, you are gonna be possibly having a bit more units to use it upon. Since it's a classical age thing, I'm not sure if you're gonna be having all that many opportunities where to use it. Maybe it could be actually useful on, I can definitely right now imagine situation on gold, right? You're gonna be having gold villages in one line and you're gonna be shooting through them. So that's like one usage I can definitely see right off the bat. You could be having some interesting insta-kills maybe through it. If he's gonna be having some special... Depends what is gonna be his special power. If it's gonna be like an increased attack and still penetrating multiple targets, you might be actually having quite annoying raiders. Not sure if on Woodline that would need some kind of specific positioning, of course, of them. But yeah, I'm thinking that's interesting one to explore, I guess, to penetrate multiple targets. As definitely like a micro skill that you have to be having. Not sure if it's gonna be having that much of a use necessarily in the classical. Because obviously, especially with how the game kind of works, right? Because you usually do not have kind of like huge blobs on one spot where it could be used. Because of like the, I don't know how to call it, the flowing over units and things. You are usually just kind of like spreading out with the army automatically. So I'm not really certain if you're gonna be able to get that. And play it something like Scorpions in Age of Empires 2 as well, where you want to be kind of like having the line as well because they shoot through. Well, we'll see. Interesting idea probably to introduce here. But nonetheless, Aegir. Heroic Age Norse God of the Sea and Storms. Aegir boosts your myth units and siege weapons. Siege weapons in Heroic. Interesting. Huh. Boosting myth units. Pff, sure. I guess you're gonna be there for getting something like... I don't remember if still Thurisas Rune or Granite Blood is actually a thing on Retold. Maybe actually not entirely remembering that being a thing, but probably so. I really don't have it in my mind. You're gonna be having to see when the full tech tree is gonna be in and having to remember everything. But nonetheless, boost to myth units, why not? The siege weapons are interesting. I wonder if this is not gonna be basically resulting into Ballistae an age earlier. Like, for example, they are doing catapults age earlier for Egyptians. So that feels to me that he might be having that. Because they like to be kind of copying themselves. And they are simply like predictable in those things. So that's something I won't be thinking is out of the question. And having Ballistae in Heroic Age... Catapults are, in my opinion, a problem in Heroic Age, frankly. Ballistae, I'm not sure too much if that's that much of a serious problem. But nonetheless, getting some extra siege weapon upgrades besides just Dwarven Ogre for the Balder Rams, sure. If you're gonna be having something specific for Ballista, why not? That's an opening. Aegir's God Power Tempest calls down a vicious hailstorm that damages and greatly slows down enemy units. No, so that's practically... we are already running out of ideas, right? Because that's basically watered down frost. That's nothing else but basically like really weaker frost. Now, and at that point, it's gonna be interesting how it's gonna be complementing with other god powers. I already touched on that during some of the games today. That since the god powers are not blocking the other ones as in the original AoE or the AoM, then you might be having some interesting like combinations. Like typically at this point, this one is, what was the one that I was thinking about? Damaging and greater, especially the slowdown. And now if you're gonna be having something like for the Chinese, for example, where you have the increased speed somewhere, but it's probably only upgrades, probably not like a good power, right? But that's gonna be coming somewhere for sure. If they're already going for slowdown of units, then faster units is probably gonna be a thing as well somewhere on a good power. I was having in my games some kind of combination in mind. I just like, hope to be remembering that. Some kind of interaction between the slowdown and something else. Maybe I'm gonna be having the thought somewhere later. Unfortunately, can't remember at this point. But yeah, interesting idea. Basically like a bit of a also counter. Slowing down enemy units. Is it gonna be slowing down also attacks? That's something that is not mentioned here. Might be like also counter flaming weapons practically. That you're gonna be reducing their attacks per minute or per second rather. Maybe that's gonna be also interesting. And is it gonna be therefore limited onto the spot? Or is it gonna be following the unit? So basically as if they are affected and therefore even if they leave somewhat like a territory, they're gonna be slowed down. I'm gonna be almost assuming this is gonna be only limited to space. And therefore, if you get out of it, you're not gonna be slowed down anymore. So basically, like blocking some kind of choke point maybe with that is gonna be a bit more important. Maybe. Maybe something like that. And his Myth unit is the Rock Giant, a towering personification of stone who crushes and even devours buildings. Running out of giant variants, I guess, here. But okay, it's a bit of a thing for the Norse, so why not? We'll again have to see what kind of special power he's gonna be having, because at this point, well, you have the trolls who are throwing the stones. So if the Rock Giant would be having the similar power, that would be kind of a bit of a shame, right? So I guess he's gonna have to be having something different. But what is that going to be? No idea. I think there was some kind of speculation, not sure if it's like a speculation or from somewhere, of potential like regenerating from damaging buildings. I think it might be just like a fan speculation maybe. Who knows? Maybe he's gonna be having something tied with those. Oh, I mean, like you can see he devours buildings. Okay, yeah, that's gonna be therefore probably that. It's gonna be something like Colossus when he can heal through eating trees and gold. So maybe actually damaging buildings is gonna be regenerating the Rock Giant, therefore. Yeah, that's probably gonna be his special ability. With high crush damage. But, well, all the giants are having high crush damage. No, and Vidar, mythic aged Norse god of vengeance and resilience. Vidar favors your human soldiers and heroes. So probably some kind of overall effect, like we have Bacchanalia for the extra hit points from Dionysus maybe. So probably something along those lines, just like increased hit points maybe. Whatever, like that. Vidar's god power Inferno unleashes a fiery path of destruction that incinerates all in its path. Yeah, that's just gonna be taken from Chinese, from Tale of the Dragon. So yeah, that's just gonna be reusing that probably. His myth unit is Fafnir, the infamous wingless dragon of Norse legend, who envelops enemies in fire and poisonous fumes. No, well, so yeah, simply. Again, practically it's something that we have seen also with, not necessarily directly with the Chinese, because those dragons there are practically flying. They're not entirely like moving on the ground, but nonetheless something of a similar nature. So I guess he's gonna be having there for some special fire attack. Poisonous fumes, that's gonna be there for the true damage, the magic damage practically. As other units are having that as well. No, and we're gonna be getting one fully voiced mythical battle. So basically like the battle scenarios in AoE 2. So we're gonna be just getting that. Regin Leif's rally, as his plans in Egypt unravel, Gargarensis travels north and rallies the giant clans to attack the north of Alfheim. Surrounded on all sides, the beleaguered Norsemen make a final stand and prepare to die valiantly when the Valkyrie Regin Leif suddenly arrives to lead the defense. Will she inspire these hardy people to an unlikely victory, or will Freyr's realm fall to the ravages of frost and flame? In this mission, you will worship the god Freyr. Logically. If it's gonna be a special for him. So yeah, some kind of, not the full campaign of course. I guess with the new gods you wouldn't be necessarily expecting that, but at least some kind of scenario, I imagine. And we of course do have also some pictures for that. Seeing right now the boar, what the hell is its name? Gulinbursti. Can we open it in a new tab for a bigger size? Yes, we can. So, all kinds of champions here. That's gonna be, I'm assuming, his wonder. Most probably, because don't imagine it's gonna be anything else. It's too huge for anything else. And there right now the rock giants on the left side. Kinda almost looking like the Gaia covered in green moss. Nice little pen for the piggies. And you can say now the god statue therefore is gonna be having some, I'm not certain what is it, like a wand or just like having some bow. Not sure if it's having some specific name, maybe. And nothing else on this picture, it looks like. Okay. So the next one is gonna be apparently the one with dragon, with Fafnir. Looking kind of decent. This one, is there a rock giant or not? Not sure, maybe. Who is this guy? Is that like the Draugr? Yeah, he's having the bow, right? Yeah, that's gonna be the Draugr here. From the second god in the classical age. Mountain giant killed and nothing too much else. So just a bit of a showcase, of course. Oh, one of the units and something further here. So this is gonna be the showcase of the Draugrs. It's probably gonna be from the scenario, I imagine. It's quite a nice thematic, so why wouldn't they be using it for some kind of gameplay? So the Draugrs, that should be practically like zombies, right? In the Norse mythology. Thinking that it's something like that. Okay, this is gonna be the Inferno being showcased with... apparently at least having some specialty with, I don't know, some kind of wolves coming out of it. But yeah, otherwise it's gonna be practically Inferno taken away from the Chinese, as you mentioned. Kind of wonder how much damage is gonna be there for doing it. Probably should be also decent against units, not only against buildings. Okay, on the left side, what the hell is that? Having some normal doggo here. Oh, that's actually probably gonna be some normal wolf. And on top of it, that's gonna be red. I don't know. Fenris, probably. Yeah, it's probably gonna be Fenris, I imagine. Or is it coming from the god power, all of it? And therefore, he's gonna be jumping out. And turning into this. So it's a bit of a combination with Fimbulwinter. Hard to say, but you can see right now there are plenty of things flying in the air. So it seems like that it's gonna be like a mighty explosion rather than actually some kind of, I don't know, slow fire or whatnot. It would be somewhat interesting if we had the mechanism like in Age of Empires 4 for buildings on fire actually being like receiving ticks of damage all the time until they are destroyed. Maybe it to be interesting then, but still. No, and next one is gonna be there for showing the Asgard or the Asgard fort. No, and the ballistae here. So this really kind of just like maybe almost, I mean, like suggests, not really, because obviously it's classical age. If you would be assuming that ballistae are gonna be in heroic age, that's still a different one. That's gonna be right now the god power for the slowdown. It's kind of interesting if you're gonna be also making some conclusions on the combinations of units. You're having the Draugrs here. And if he's having trolls, does it mean that Freyr is gonna be having therefore having Forseti as his second god in classical? Maybe it could be meaning something along those lines, but probably no need to be reading into it too much. It would be meaning right now with the Jotun that he could be having therefore Njord as in the heroic age as the second one. And then in the mythic, if it would be therefore really Fenris, then you would be having Tyr as well. So therefore all four Norse would be having Tyr. Seems to be maybe a bit repetitive already right there. No, nonetheless, those are therefore right now the pictures that you're able to get through and go through here. No, and we are also going to be having some further information that is kind of relevant for that from the legacy deity portraits that are also having their listing in the Xbox store, and that is that we are gonna be having the picture of how it's gonna be looking in the game, and you can see right now how Freyr is gonna be portrayed in the list of the heroes. And frankly, this kind of looks like to me this alignment that they are already expecting to be having more extra heroes, gods, than just the one extra for the civilization. Doesn't surprise me, so obviously making sense. We certainly gonna be getting them for all the extra pantheons and even the DLC ones. They are gonna be, in my opinion, launching with 3. And then they're gonna be getting further gods to them as well. But this kind of alignment, that it's basically not like, for example, switched into 4 in a row or anything along those lines, seems to be suggesting they are very much planning on adding more and more to each civilization. So again, get ready with your wallets, because it kind of feels like that you're probably gonna be getting fairly high cadence, because you could be getting something like every few months, you're gonna be getting either god pack or an expansion, and it's gonna be like a continually going forward and forward. You can have definitely a few years of that very easily with the civilizations that you have here. So we're just gonna have to wait to see if it's gonna be like 2, 3, 4 month cycle. Like for example in Hearthstone they are doing 4-month cycle, so 3 expansions per year. Wouldn't be surprising me if they did something like that as well here, like 1 expansion with a new civilization per year, and then you're gonna be having the extra god packs in there as well. So it's constantly something new that you are gonna be buying as well. You can see right now here the menu, or you're gonna be probably seen in the game. Compendium, that was treasury in the beta, and mods are gonna be in as well. Oh well, of course, to be expected. And proper looking Gaia, as opposed to what we are unfortunately getting with the game. But nonetheless, yeah, that's something that you can find on the Xbox store already. It's right now just the information that is straight for the game. They don't have anything specific right now for the information here on this. And on the legacy portraits, no, I guess at this point you can be therefore having a look at the videos. I'm thinking I'm gonna be having a look also at the first trailer that was actually released yesterday. No, and then what we have seen also today as an extra. Hopefully it's not gonna be too laggy. Okay.
Young hero, the gods have taken an interest in your odyssey. Try not to disappoint us. No matter what armies you face, what power you wield, or what creatures you unleash, we trust you will find a way to write your own legend.
Kind of okay. I'm kind of thinking that maybe the previous one was not bad at all. Well, not bad, maybe even slightly better than this, but this was kind of alright as well. When I saw it yesterday, I was kind of thinking that it was maybe a bit weaker, but at this point seeing it again, it's not entirely that bad in any way. But nonetheless, well, the overall marketing for them is just like so weird, because it doesn't seem like they are trying to sell it too much, especially for example right now with the Stormgate disaster. There are plenty of opportunities where they could have been using that, considering that basically of course the biggest complaint is that the campaign and single player content is complete crap. So that's exactly what Age of Mythology is of course offering, so they should have been jumping on that already before. But yeah, well, we'll see if maybe they're gonna be still doing at least something in the last week or two, or if they're hoping that what they have done, which is kind of nothing, is going to be enough. No, we're gonna be seeing soon how many players are gonna be in. No, and now let's therefore get on to, I guess, the talk that was earlier today.
Now there is nothing like enhancing a classic with modern graphics and gameplay mechanics, and if that classic feature...
Okay. What? Why did he jump? Come on, YouTube, work properly, please.
Enhancing a class.
Okay.
Now there is nothing like enhancing a classic with modern graphics and gameplay mechanics, and if that classic feature can feature, you know, new expansions and a remastering of the multiplayer experience, well, in my eyes, it's even better. So here from World's Edge even, to give us the latest on Age of Mythology Retold, please welcome Senior Director of Production, Ernest Yen, and Senior Game Designer, Kristen Perillo. Welcome, and prostagma to you. Thank you so much. Now, Age of Mythology
is so lame, the same as Vololo.
Here at
I really hate this.
In general, there's loads going on anyway. But you also had a pretty epic opening night live, so I want to hear all about that. I want to hear all about the booth. I want to hear everything.
Great. So first, thank you, Jeff Keighley, for showing the awesome premiere trailer that we just showing in opening the live last night. And it showed the story of Athena talking to like the young hero, and in this case, like one of them is of course the key characters, Acanthos, and about this really, really epic like story that a lot of our fans remember really fondly. So over multiple campaigns, over 50 missions, it is epic, amazing, and of course the trailer also show off like the new graphics we have in the game, looking really pretty. It is just like really cool to see. So.
Yeah, and the trailer's been fantastic because it really showcases how diverse each civilization is within myth.
Yeah.
We have our Greeks, we have Egyptians, Norse, and Atlantean. They all have their own gods, their lore, the way that they play. There's just so much diversity within the gameplay. It's been really exciting.
And talking about the booth, yes, we are here, so like people can actually come.
You're just over the back, over there. You're like tucked away over that
right
way.
there.
If anyone's planning on coming tomorrow, it's just over there.
And if you come, you can.
I think in that leak scenario that was like a few months ago, some video of that. It's
really cool.
Kind of confirm that it's what is at
Gamescom. This is not
Gamescom.
the only thing that we have here. So you know, on top of Age of Mythology Retold, we also recently announced Age of Empires Mobile. And,
really?
And like if you come by the booth, you can get this like awesome like pop socket. It's like
yeah, that is a
so highly recommend.
I'm going to be first in the queue to get
disaster.
That
is
so
only
cool.
just going to have an Age of Empires in name.
We just announced that it's going to be available globally on October 17th. So
from what I've read, it's quite a bit trash. So yeah, if you like those types of mobile games, then I guess.
So it's a game built with the awesome Timmy Studio Group, and they have crafted something that's
probably
amazing
meant more for the
mobile
Chinese
gamers.
market. It looks
How
like.
exciting. I can't wait to see it. Amazing. Right. So I know you have more news to come as we're talking here today, but the first thing I want to talk about is that this is more of it's more than a remastering, but it's different to a sequel, right? So I don't know, what in the name of gods does Retold actually mean?
Right. So.
Now, what does it mean? That we were afraid that if we do Age of Mythology 2, nobody's gonna be buying it, so we are abusing the original game and changing it into something that it isn't and trying to sell it again. That's what's exactly happening, because Retold is not Age of Mythology. They have changed way too many fundamental things for that to be true. It's really something that should have been AOM 2. I still hold that's what they wanted to do, but they got scared because of AOE 4 not reaching their overblown targets, and that's why I decided to do this. Because really, the changes they have made, they're just like 90% of them make absolutely no sense, and there is no reason to do them.
For a few years now, our fans know we have been building these things called like definitive editions. And there's one key goal that we have, which is we want to build the title that's in your head, right? Not because when you actually think about the games that you grew up with and play, like you remember fondly and say, like, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So, but when you actually try to play the original for real and look at it and say like, that's not what I remember like at all. So we want to build the one that's actually in your head and how it looks like, how it feels like. So that's the goal.
Yeah,
so,
and that's why you make the game completely different. Super logic. I really just like absolutely dislike those random marketing nonsenses, because it just like makes absolutely no sense. And it's literally targeted to people who have absolutely no clue about anything. But at that point, they just wouldn't mind at all if the changes weren't made. So they're trying to market changes to people who don't care about the changes in effect. So they just like made changes for changes' sake. So like you can't be getting that more confirmed than actually this. It's, yeah, it's just like a bit of a sad approach to it. But I guess you have to be justifying your work somehow.
And yeah, really want to thank the fans for supporting us for so long, for all the different editions. But for Retold, Age of Mythology Retold, we are going beyond what we have done in developed editions. So on top of all the graphics and all the gameplay from the original, we actually tweak it and added a bunch of like new things to it as well, and it is just amazing. So
yeah, I mean, from the design side, from the get-go, we really asked ourselves, how can we maximize our mythology? And so we've, you know, we've got reusable god powers, which you can actually see. We've got our, you know, approachability features like our VPS we brought in from other titles. We've got, you know, a more favor-based economy, so you can build more monsters, and our population cap is much higher now. So not only can you build more monsters, you can just build more of everything.
You add me at more monsters, I'll stop you there. It feels like a love letter, really. Everything you've learned so far, you're bringing back, and I love the idea of taking out what you see in your head and then making that version of the game. I think it's absolutely wonderful. So you mentioned a little bit about god powers, actually. I heard we have our very own gods wandering around at Gamescom, by the way, while we're on the subject.
Yes, we have invited them to the booth. So you also can actually see them. We have Athena and Zeus here in our booth. So come by, see them. Like, you can see them on screen like that.
Zeus
On one hand, this is cool, but on the other hand, why do you have to be making it so cheap?
That is so cool.
Like, this is like some kind of really lame cosplay.
It takes a
Considering that it's supposed to be official, it's just like...
A lot of convincing. Beautiful, awesome. Okay, back
all
to
kinds
game
of
now.
questions
Sorry,
for me.
So, seeing the gameplay that we just saw just then, it's really clear that the team has been hard at work on the visuals. I think you've both mentioned it already. So, what can we expect? What exactly does that mean?
Okay, give me a second, as unfortunately batteries exactly ran out on my headset. Sorry about that.
So for graphics, we actually have redone every single graphics that you actually see in the game. So like every single 3D
that's
asset,
expected,
every
right?
single animations, like effects, all of them are completely rebuilt. So just for this game. And it's amazing, the team did really, really good work, but we want to make sure that you also keep the flavor of the original.
Of course,
because again, we want to build a game that people remember. So it's really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a labor of love.
So they're just like, that's kind of schizophrenic, right? So at this point, he's talking that he wants to be making the game look like what people remember. But at the same time, a few minutes ago, he said that if you look at the game now, then that's not what people supposedly remember. So therefore, they had to be changing it. So like, pick one. You can't be having both of these going against each other. So, yeah, that's... No. Again, marketing, unfortunately. Not entirely with reality. That's kind of like the same as one of the articles about like a week or 2 weeks ago on Windows Central. Then they actually straight said that they wanted to be keeping the game same, and therefore they didn't make too many changes or something like those lines. Yeah, well, and that's of course why they changed like literally everything in the game. Like they changed absolutely everything. There's nothing that probably didn't get changed in some way. No, but nonetheless, interesting. Not really think that those two are going together too well. But whatever the case, it is definitely recognizable, the game. Problem with the graphics for me is that it's gonna looking nice only if you're gonna be having the highest graphics. As soon as you're gonna be going down, it's actually starting to look quite a bit ugly in certain parts. You could have maybe seen it even on my streams, so that's a serious problem in my opinion. And I'm thinking that some people might be disappointed with that, really. Unless you can run it on top details, then you might be slightly disappointed with the product that you get. Especially, it's kind of a really weird part is, I was kind of actually thinking about it some days ago, and that is that the unit graphics seem to be actually high detailed, even on lower details, whereas what is actually being downgraded are buildings, which is static graphics, which is so weird. So static graphics are getting worse on lower details, whereas the units are just like practically staying the same. That's something I'm not entirely certain that I understand. Maybe it's gonna be having some reasons in the engine, I don't know. But yeah, that also is gonna be why, for example, even if I change graphic settings from highest to lowest, it doesn't really have any kind of change on the performance. It's basically the same. The only thing that I'm locked at is low details or low textures, if I'm thinking correctly. It won't be letting me save higher actual level of those. But otherwise, everything else I can just get max or lowest and just like doesn't make difference in the performance, which is something that really shouldn't be happening. For example, typically anti-aliasing should be a huge jump in performance, and it's not if you're gonna be turning it off or on. So yeah, a bit weird, but nonetheless, let's see what the final product is gonna be doing.
I'll say that much. Yeah, so we've gone asset by asset, and we've just made overall improvements. We wanted everything to look and feel mythical, and so we have, you know, our destruction effects. We support ray tracing, but like Ernest had said earlier, you know, sometimes when we've gone back and look at these assets in 2024, we realized that we had an image in our head that was very different than blurry pixels, you know, wrapped around a sphere. And so we had
No, but the bit of a problem is here that the God Powers still looked better in the original game than on Retold, at least for me personally. It might be personal taste, but I'm thinking that original God Powers just look better. Just like, yeah. So I don't know, we probably have a bit of a different idea about all of that. And you can see right now we actually here in Freyr, considering what kind of, yeah, God Powers he has to the top. So are we gonna be able to see some kind of details here, maybe? It's gonna go back, possibly.
That was very different than blurry pixels, you know, wrapped.
Okay, so you're gonna be having Oliver Snubnose. That's gonna be new names, of course, for the hearses, but it's alright. Got powers to the top. I think there's gonna be some upgrade somewhere down the line. We'll see where, if I'm gonna be noticing it.
Sphere. And so we had a lot of philosophical discussions because, you know, the dev team were all major fans of the original. So, I mean, Arcantos was a big one where we were like, would he have a dimple? Or would his chin be more square? Would he have...
I want to be in those meetings, please.
They've been really fun. You know, it's part Rorschach test looking at some of the assets. And then it's like labor of love. And, it, you know, it all comes together to make that game that we remember loving and playing.
Amazing. So if I've got everything right here, so Age of Mythology Retold as complete visual overhaul, updated god powers, and larger-than-life myth units. Now, small enough to keep me interested, but is there anything else that you have to share?
Yes, definitely want to say that, remind people, one of the coolest thing that we have done for here is that we are releasing on PC and Xbox with crossplay, like at the same time. We have never done that with...
I'm really curious about that experiment now. It could be having several implications, with one of the implications being that it could be actually hurting player base long term. Because if you're gonna be having that on the Xbox, players are gonna be playing it on console, those are gonna be less likely to stick with the game. They're just gonna be having their nostalgia run for like a week or two, and then they're gonna be jumping into another console game, right? Whereas if you would be playing it on PC, you're gonna be probably more likely to even play the multiplayer because it's gonna be easier than on the Xbox and more natural. And just like, I think the commitment on PC would be bigger to the game than on Xbox, so yeah. So you're gonna be getting definitely better sales, that's for sure, or kind of sales, you're gonna be on Game Pass, so not sure about the sales directly. But nonetheless, it's just kind of like out there if it's gonna be really helping or not. I guess you're gonna be seen on the number of streams. I mean, like 2D launching on Xbox was having tons of streams from the console, but after 2 weeks it dropped right like a rock, like absolutely dead right after. Practically no streams. There was like one after. So I wonder if it's gonna be something similar here with Retold, or if it's gonna be having some more retention power. It's a bit more casual-minded game, to be honest, with the campaigns, and if you're gonna be getting some good custom scenarios early enough, then possibly. But yeah, that's really gonna depend on the speed, how quickly they are gonna be up. Which is, I'm thinking, a shame that we're not gonna be having the Arena of the Gods basically in at release. Anything that would be interesting for the casuals would and should have been there as soon as possible on release, because that would be having the power to keep players in.
At the same time, so really happy to be able to bring the game to not only the keyboard and mouse player, but to controllerless players as well. Because the game people really remember, beloved it. We want everybody to be able to play together.
And you've had some fantastic versions on the console recently, so those players want to absolutely join you. Now, you also have some other really exciting things to tell us today. I know I'm really gripped for this, but what can you tell us about the Freyr Gods pack?
Oh, I am so excited to be able to talk about this.
Here we go.
So the Freyr Gods
yeah,
really
because it's going to be making money for years to come. I'm excited about that.
What we really wanted to do was offer the players a new strategy type for the Norse, which is, you know, a beloved civilization from the legacy game that can sometimes be very offensive in the way that it plays. And so with our Freyr God Pack, we wanted to offer a defensive
purpose.
skew to it. So with the Freyr God Pack, players will be...
It's like the whole purpose of Norse, to be offensive civilization, whereas Egyptians are defensive civilization, and kind of like Greeks were in the middle. That was the base design of the game, so why is anybody surprised about that?
getting 4 new god types featuring Freyr, who is the god of fertility and kingship, and then 3 minor gods.
And that is certain right about now if there are gonna be some statistics to be seen. I really don't remember what was, for example, tower hit point number in the original game. If you could be seeing some upgrades here. Not really sure.
As well as all the things that they come with, like their myth units and their god powers.
Wow. Oh my goodness me. That's insane, by the way. 4 new gods. Amazing. Are you able to talk us through each one? Can we do that?
Yes.
Thinking here is gonna be some tooltip.
Amazing.
Yeah, here, Ring Oath. And it's gonna be one of the upgrades specific for Freyr. So Uller Vow stats, or no, well, practically Freyr as well, but it's from Uller, from the second god. So vows to defend the realm of man, allowing his Asgardian Bastion god power to be recast with a greatly reduced favor cost. Minus 50%. So considering that the recast is apparently at 100 favor, you're gonna be getting it at 50. That's like one small fight, or decent fight. Practically, so that seems to be actually fairly high discount for that. No, well, talking about the fact that this could be somewhat powerful, as he mentioned, this upgrade is pretty cheap. You can see only, no, gold is irrelevant there. It's all about the 16 favor practically. This is something I really do not like what they did in Retold with so many cheap upgrades, because at that point you just like, you don't have the cost there. You're legitimately the cost is just like favor practically. 75 gold, who cares about that? Practically at any time if of the game for Norse specifically. So that's something also in Imperial Age or Mythical Age, god powers or powers. Upgrades basically costing 150 food, like why? At that point you are having such an economy that is just like no cost. It might just as well not cost anything. That's really removing the choice, just kind of railroading the game and making it way more straightforward. I'm not really thinking that's a correct decision, because it's gonna be removing a decision from the players and therefore possible diversity. Because you just don't think about it, you just get it because it's cheap. It's just like no reason not to. Whereas if you have, for example, upgrade that is costing you 400 food, you actually very much think if you want to be getting that or not, and when. That is a whole lot different. It can be a powerful upgrade, but it still doesn't mean that you're gonna be getting automatically and just like immediately after advance. Typically Thracian horses, right? 400 food. It's 20% extra cavalry hit points, so it's a huge upgrade. But at the same time, you have to be really carefully thinking when you get it. Same as, for example, even Thundering Hooves on their original cost on original game. Yeah, I don't think it's a correct idea to be decreasing the costs. And you can say right now, Freyr's Gift adds -5 to favor cost. Okay, so Freyr's Gift, that's gonna be probably, I think that was already mentioned somewhere, that it's gonna be probably like, or Boyd's Discord or somewhere, probably mistake in the tooltip, that it's probably gonna be the first boar. That boar from Freyr. Unless it's called just like Freyr's Gift, and it's not, what is it, like the Ghoulie something. So I guess it's gonna be decreasing the cost of that as well, most probably.
Excellent.
So we have Uller, who is the god of archery, and his myth unit is a Draugr, which you may see in the film here. The Draugr is an awesome myth unit. He's an undead archer, and his arrows can pierce multiple targets, whatever is in his line of sight. We have Aegir, who is the god of storm.
I wonder if she mentioned that purposefully, that whatever is in his line of sight. If it means that you have to be having the units it pierces through in line of sight or not. I think it had to be just like a bit of a weird mechanism to limit it in such a way. So I'm gonna be assuming that's gonna be just like some kind of construction of the sentence. That would be a weird mechanism, kind of, in my opinion. By the way, kinda cool signature, I guess, for the Freyr to the top, right next to the age here. Those two stacks. It's looking kinda nice.
And his god power, he has a horrifying hailstorm that will slow everybody down, and it's very frosty. And he is one of the best myth units, which is that will slow the god of storms. Multiple targets, whatever is in his line of sight. We have Aegir, who is the god of storms, and his god power, he has a horrifying hailstorm that will slow everybody down, and it's very frosty. And he is one of the best myth units, which is a rock giant, and if you upgrade him, he can eat buildings, and he will.
God, I love this game.
With upgrade. Okay, so you're gonna have to be getting an upgrade for him there for eating the buildings. Okay, it's interesting for the rock giant. I'm still trying to think what was the combination I wanted to be remembering with the speed. Yeah, the speed reduction and something else, so that's gonna be some kind of combination with others. Ah well, I don't know.
Mythic Age god is Vidar, who is the god of vengeance, very appropriate for the Mythic Age. And so his god power, he calls upon Freyr, which is a mythological wolf. And Freyr is interesting. He has.
What is that ability there going on and going off? Is that something from Regin Life?
Vidar, who is the god of vengeance, very appropriate for the Mythic Age. And so his god power, he calls upon Freyr, which is a mythological wolf. And Freyr is interesting. He has a path of destruction. He'll light forests on fire, and the wolf comes up in a very scary, ghostly manner. And then his myth unit is actually my personal favorite. Another famous character from mythology, Fafnir, who is a very greedy dragon. Everywhere he goes, he leaves like a...
What did she say about the power?
Who is the god of vengeance, very appropriate for the Mythic Age. And so his god power, he calls upon Freyr, which is a mythological wolf. And Freyr is interesting. He has a path of destruction. He'll light forests on fire, and the wolf comes up in a very scary, ghostly manner.
Okay, so that was like the wolf we have seen on the picture. It was like strictly Freyr. And he's gonna be bringing the Inferno with him. Okay, so that's how it's gonna be working. So he's gonna be like jumping around the base or some such. And doing damage in such a fashion, huh? So it's gonna be somewhat like a logic of meteors, and there's gonna be maybe some kind of idea to be discovered how he targets units and what he targets. If he's, for example, targeting trees, like original meteors, for example, like to do.
And then his myth unit is actually my personal favorite. Another famous character from mythology, Fafnir, who is a very greedy dragon. Everywhere he goes, he leaves like a trail of poison.
Love it.
And if you slay Fafnir on the dragon, everywhere he goes, he leaves this character from mythology, Fafnir, who is a very greedy dragon.
What the hell? Look at the Draugr on the left side when he's using the special attack in there. Is he having like multi-arrows therefore? I guess it looks like multi-arrows, right, that he's using.
Very scary, ghostly manner. And then his myth unit is actually my personal favorite. Another famous character from mythology, Fafnir, who is a very greedy dragon. Everywhere he goes...
It's kind of weird how one of the globes actually jumps kind of like back to him here to the right. What the hell?
Famous character from mythology, Fafnir, who is a very greedy dragon. Everywhere he goes, he leaves like a trail of poison.
Love it.
And if you slay Fafnir on the battlefield, he actually melts into a pile of gold coins.
Oh, wow.
So it's very fun to make.
I really love how much you've fleshed out each of those.
That's interesting. So if you're gonna be killing him in some good spot, then I guess you're just gonna be getting a bit of a small gold mine out of him. Huh. It's an interesting mechanism. It's probably not gonna be too much. It's gonna be like 100 gold maybe or whatnot. But nonetheless, maybe if it's gonna be blocking path, then it could be a bit, maybe having some usages or implications.
Like, yeah, that one's gonna eat buildings, isn't he? Love it. So good, wonderful.
It's amazing. Just want to do a quick reminder that Freyr is going to be part of the premium edition of the game. So just want to do a quick reminder that Freyr.
Yeah, that kind of the graphics for the Asgardian Bastion kind of seems. No, well, I think it's look a bit cheap maybe. It looks like a normal hill fort, but covered with snow, or with frost, kind of. It's looking a bit goofy, I don't know. Considering they took actually decent care with the other graphics, that seems to be maybe something that probably could be a bit improved. Not sure. But well, in the end, I guess it's not mattering too much. This kind of seems a bit like sticking out a bit. Maybe weirdly. Not sure.
So good, wonderful.
It's amazing. Just want to do a quick reminder that Freyr is going to be part of the premium edition of the game. So if you want Freyr and all both the major and minor gods, so definitely get the premium edition. And by the way, if you get the premium edition of the game, you also will be able to access the game earlier. So like the game is coming out September 4th, but like if you have the premium edition, you can start playing on August 28th, 7 days early.
Good deal to me. Love it. Awesome. So
no, okay, so he was just like again reiterating that. There's a lot of discussions, probably not too much, but like a bit of a talk about if he's gonna be Freyr really just exclusive to pre-orders. So far, it seems like they are very much saying so. That if you don't pre-order and get the premium edition, especially, not even pre-order, the premium edition, you are not gonna be able to get him. Oh, there are some people who are saying that, like, why would they be losing the money if they will be releasing it later? But it feels like there's gonna be at minimum some kind of time exclusivity. So like for like half a year, maybe you're not gonna be able to buy him. So yeah, that's definitely not going in the right direction. Definitely going into pay-to-win direction, of course, but that's to be expected. As I mentioned, we are probably gonna be getting quite a cadence of content and all kinds of other things. They are already in the game files. They were found some game tokens. So I'm not sure if you're gonna be getting them through through playing, and then you can buy them to buy skins and whatever else. But yeah, in-game shop seems to be also a thing. So we'll see on release. That's very interesting that they don't talk about any of that, right? They don't talk about mods, for example, at all. They don't talk about practically anything important that the community is very interested in. All the other details is basically like leaving it until release. And it's probably risky as far as maybe what kind of reaction they're gonna be having for that. On the other hand, well, when they're gonna be getting the sales, then of course everybody can be going crazy. So maybe it's not entirely much of a bad strategy.
So, as well as choosing your god and battling across this frozen north, what other new content can we expect from the Freyr Gods pack?
Yes, so with the Freyr God pack, there's also a new playable level called Reagan Leaf Rally, and I won't spoil it. It's very fun. You'll get the chance to play all of the fun new myth units and god powers and techs I just mentioned. And really the best part of this level is that it does feature one of our villains from the Legacy campaign, Gargarensis, who is just a peach. And it's a great experience.
I'm stuck on Peach there. I can't wait to unpack this expansion, but I need to ask you both, Ernest, Kirsten, what dates? I know we spoke them a little bit, but let's go over it one more time so everyone's got them written on the calendar at home.
Yep, September 4th is when the game is coming out. So, but I do want to be clear that the way that we like to build our games, September 4th is really just the beginning. So we will continue to support the game, we'll continue to do updates, balance, listen to consumer feedback, and honestly, our players are amazing. They give us really good feedback, and then we can continue to improve the game.
Yeah, so. And part of that is,
No, well, of course, you were having 2 years to design the game, and then you are doing major changes to how you actually design the game month before release based on open beta. Yeah, congratulations. You evidently need other people to do the design for you. So I'm not entirely certain if that's something to be proud of. But yeah, definitely understand that they are happy for it. Because it looks like that without the community, they wouldn't be able to put anything reasonable together, it looks like. And we also still are gonna be, of course, having to see when players finally start discovering the real broken things in the game, how that's gonna be playing out. Because so far, people have been just like touching the surface in plenty of the things, and there are already plenty of things that are looking that they will be problematic very much. And I'll already step into that direction. So we're just gonna have to be seeing how it's gonna be fleshed out, all these ideas, and then maybe new players who are not even from Age of Mythology and therefore will be having different idea how to maybe approach things, are gonna be also taking a look at it. Maybe some mechanically more skilled players, I don't know. I'll be kind of liking, again, as I mentioned, people like, for example, Marine Lord is maybe gonna be having quite a decent impact on the game if he's gonna be trying it. So yeah, that's really something that we'll be curious to see what happens. It's like always kind of makes me laugh when people say those people are great. They make the game so balanced, and they change the things and whatnot. Like, what are you talking about? Nobody knows what is balanced and what isn't. Like, really, literally nobody knows anything all that much. Just you can already see some kind of things sticking up their heads. Like typically what I was even playing on the beta, and that is the stupid change of Minotaurs into gold cost from the food, which allows basically like a full archers and minotaurs, which is superbly complementing each other, and you just have super easy economy for that as well. So typically these kinds of abuses are something that will have to be figured out still, and then we'll see where the balance actually lies.
We have 2 new pantheons coming with playable civilizations, and then we also have a new game mode, Arena of the Gods, which we're excited to talk about soon.
Ooh, how exciting.
No,
well, thank you
that's
both
really
so
something
much
that should
for
be on
joining
the
me.
release.
It's been an
That's,
absolute
I think,
pleasure.
a big
I'm gonna make
mistake
sure I
on
get
them.
the pop socket. I'm going to make sure I get whatever these things you're wearing. I'm going to hunt you down. I'm going to get
For
them.
casual
So
player
thanks so much for
retention.
stopping by. There are loads more Age of Mythology stuff going on for all types of gamers. But first things first, as Erson said, if you haven't already, make sure you pre-order Age of Mythology Retold Premium Edition.
So the very important part is that
7 days early access
editor
and
needs
so
to be
much
working at
more.
release
You can
so
play
that
early
people can
from August
immediately
28th,
make
and
mods
that is
and
only
immediately
1
hook
week from today.
other players
And
to
that,
stay
my
in,
friends,
because
is a
custom
wrap on
scenarios
day one
are
from the Xbox
definitely the
Gamescom
ones
booth here
to
in
keep
Germany.
players
Join us
engaged.
tomorrow
It's
for
really
Star
something that
Wars
other
Outlaws, the latest chapter from Fallout 76
strategies
Mark
lately
Zero,
are really failing
and
at, like
Retold Dynasty
Stormgate
is
and
ambitious
practically everything else. They're
story
just
arcs
trying to
that
be
will
focusing
have
too much on the
never seen, and
competitive
it's probably gonna be
without
so much
understanding
more.
that
So until tomorrow,
success of
have a great
RTS
day.
or real-time strategy is in the casual player base, and they need to be having fun first. And then maybe you can be having the esports out of that. But it shouldn't be the opposite way. Because if it's the opposite, then you're just gonna hoping that some random whale is gonna be giving you money for nothing to run it. Because it's just not gonna be having most probably any kind of relevant way to how to keep itself alive. Look at Stormgate again, what kind of failure it is. So at this point they're just hoping that maybe they are going to be getting lucky and somebody is gonna be filling them with money. Like they had the showcase on the World Cup in Saudi Arabia, right? So they're hoping for some oil money that's gonna be saving them, but yeah. No, and exactly, of course, as I mentioned already before, the disappointed people from Stormgate, that's something that should be advertised to for Retold, because that's where they will be probably happy. But so far, doesn't seem like there are any kind of efforts like that. Nonetheless, so that was a bit of a little info, nothing entirely too much new. Practically what we have already seen here in the Xbox shop. And I'm just gonna want you to be looking at that if they're gonna be revealing something new. I'm kind of surprised how actually low info they did give. The Freyr that they're gonna be talking about, that's sure, but they didn't talk about, for example, the mods and practically like anything else. It's kind of weird that they are not letting even any kind of information in about how that's gonna be played. Maybe it's not entirely all that full ready, but hopefully it is. I mean, like in the screenshot here, you already do have the mods to the top side, so they're gonna be somehow working. And hopefully it's somewhat gonna be taken from the other games, so it's gonna be at least passable and workable. Because that could be also a pretty big problem if the modders couldn't be creating some kind of early custom scenarios and stuff, because that's, as I mentioned, that's gonna be one of the important parts for the game's longevity possibly. But yep, that's gonna be there for it for the information here that I wanted to look at as well. And I guess that's gonna be there for it, therefore, for today's stream. So, let us therefore thank all the players that we were able to enjoy today in the games. That's going to be there for, no, of course, Illuminati from Clean, and also Justice Strikes Grassing Room in the 1v1s at the end of the session. So thank you very much, both guys. And then before that, we were having, for example, Loki Owns, which was Snake, then Outfoxed. From the others, that's gonna be Ulfhead Nar, and I'll go random from Team Mystic. Then H Lunatic, Loki PE, that was from Zap, Zona Atterrorizante Pro. The Marshal, he was from VDL, that was, I already forgot what it was. Is he still online somewhere? Probably not. There was something to do with Red Dead Redemption 2, right? Okay, let me find out so that you can properly thank and highlight everybody. So VDL and the Marshal is the nickname. Van der Linde Gang. Yep. Also having the picture, of course, there on the Woobly profile page. But nonetheless, thank you therefore very much as well for your game, and for the user profile tried to be playing with us, but I don't think we got into game with him. Then we were having Burp winning as the next player. Then it was PGT Punk, Nightkiller, ESP8266, Lizard, Fear Clan Skeptic, I'm thinking. Clan Uniao Discord Nino, V-Snow, Fury Clan the only one, GDM, so Gladiadores del Mythology CK. Le Kaiser, that is also Fury Clan, Lyre from the Uncrapables, Killer Bee, that was TSR, so this is kind of new clan. Gonna be also having to look at who that is and what nickname or name of the clan it is, so I can maybe in like 2 years remember what it is. So Killer Bee and about 3 underscores maybe. Yeah, TSR, Templars, Warriors of God. Some kind of new clan probably. That has formed, so thank you all the guys for the games. And also at this point, maybe actually wanting to look at, because I'm thinking that the Fear Clan is probably having some different name that I'm mentioning. It's not like Fear Clan, it's Fear something, isn't it? Is it like Fear the Flame, maybe? Yeah, Fear the Flame. Okay, so Fury Clan and Fear the Flame is Fear. Okay, so that's gonna be all the info now. And well, thank you everybody, of course, for stopping by who did and who maybe watched elsewhere or on other time from the highlight past broadcast. Thank you Somero, Mephiston, Alexilion, Asil, Omir. Omir also thank you for the follow. Then Mirotastic, Iti. Then I am Trans. That was, by the way, Killer Bee. And Nemoram, of course, for stopping by. And whoever else, as I mentioned, was around as well. So let's get some highlight maybe here for, of course, the streams, as usual. That's gonna be there for Iti. I am Trans. Asil too, that's probably not gonna be his main nickname, I'm expecting. Oh, Somero, maybe he's gonna be streaming too. He has a stream, but he's not entirely streaming, so maybe he's gonna be trying to do Age of Mythology, who knows. Then, of course, Twitch TV. Illuminati OG. And Twitch TV Grass and Groom. And that might be it from the players that we have had today, I'm thinking maybe. A ještě Nino is also having definitely stream. But I have to be there for figuring out which one. Nino and double underscore. I've also seen him stream a few times lately. No, and of course join us on RTS Sanctuary for some discussions also about Retold and overall history of the game as well, and recorded games and everything along those lines. No, and Age of Mythology Heaven 2. And in between before Retold is gonna be out, you can visit us on Woobly for the best place for Age of Mythology and Age of Empires multiplayer, and you can play here the original Ensemble Studios 103 patch or Woobly Balance patch, Vanilla without Titans, Expert Match Vanilla that is used for tournaments and show matches like by AO Destroyer in the years past, Rated Vanilla, Deathmatch. You can play here. There was also Game Room earlier, as I mentioned, that not even Deathmatch, but no rush. There's an interesting request in there. Or possibly Rated Vanilla, as I mentioned. I don't know, Lightning, we can play here, which is gonna be in Retold as well. So looking forward to how maybe that's gonna be popping off or not. Now you can play against PC bots and AI. There are some players right now exactly playing here from RH, Yautia King, and Carlos 084 and Mar Profundo with them. And of course, custom scenarios also played here. Either there was Tiny earlier today, or Zelda is very popular, Bloodsport, and all kinds of others, and maybe even some new ones in the workshop here on Wubin or on Age of Mythology Heaven. Usually the old school ones, but nonetheless, there are plenty of those that you can find around still and play and enjoy if you wish. For example, also by Straxis and Proper Gentleman and other creators. I think maybe Joey Betts was doing some as well, who was also, by the way, doing some speedruns. Not sure if he's streaming too much, but I imagine he's gonna be streaming also on Retold. So, exactly as you hear it, Joey Betts on Twitch TV, if you wish to be given some extra follow. No, and if you haven't just extended edition, there's also the compatibility patch that you can try to play on Woobly if you don't have the original game by Straxis and Chris. And if you have some issues with either the game or with players, we are a moderated platform, so therefore you can just post on the support forums for whatever issue you have. Maybe something with connection, or if there is some kind of cheater, or for example if there is some kind of drop and therefore wrongly awarded points after a game, that can all be possibly handled. It's also quite a bit of a big question mark what's gonna happen with Retold, because as far as I'm aware, Age of Empires 4 is quite a bit of a hellhole as far as cheaters, especially team games. So yeah, we're gonna have to see how what's gonna happen here in the new game and how attractive it's going to be for cheaters. Because that is something that Microsoft is not entirely all that good in handling too much. It's not as much of a top level problem on 2DE, but it doesn't mean that of course the cheat codes and things are not going in there as well. But AoE 4 is actually really bad from what I have noticed, even on Reddit posts about that. So hopefully that's not gonna be heading in the same direction, but we'll see, I guess. So yeah, that's gonna be there for it for tonight. So let's also have a look who else is still streaming. Thinking it's gonna be probably still Illuminati. He usually is playing all. Actually, he isn't. Okay, so that's gonna be right about now. Obito, for example, he is playing some. No, not vanilla. Which very curiously is also quite a lot played in the last few weeks on Woobly for some reason. I wonder if something happened with Game Ranger or whatnot, but yeah, plenty of people play vanilla on Woobly last few weeks, especially kind of like late night GMT. But nonetheless, Obito is doing some extended edition games currently. Then we have Thunder AOM doing the same. Also, Kazan Vampiro is doing campaign, is it? That looks like a normal game, but against AI. Then, of course, John Arbiter is doing some stream. Also on the inferior platform extended edition. No, and Zomle. Apparently first time playing extended edition, so maybe if you want to be giving somebody tips. Practicing for some PvP challenge, so I guess he's gonna be happy for some help. No, and apparently Snake is also playing, but yeah, well, that's at your own danger. But since we have streamed his games today, then it's probably proper order to put him there as well, but yeah, at your own danger. It is a cheater and weird person in the first place, so be aware of that, so that you are not surprised. So yeah, that's gonna be it. Tomorrow probably gonna be doing recorded games of World as a Championship show match, so Age of Empires 2. No, and well, we'll see what's gonna happen after. On Monday, maybe something similar. Maybe you could be also already having like a main game from the qualification, because for some reason that should be played this week, but for whatever reason they decided to be doing it from recorded games, as if it would be any kind of blocking of T90's tournament, really just like the reasoning I don't understand that, but it's their tournament, so whatever. So maybe Monday will be some recorded games of that. Maybe over the weekend some RTS League at Twitch TV/RTS League again. We were streaming last week. Again, there were matches between Old Boys and Justice Strikes that was streamed by Chrono JJ and Count von Count. And on RTS League, we were doing Old Boys versus Pandora Box, which was also having POV from Chrono JJ. And also somebody else, right? And Ogneni, yes, Ogneni as well, because he was guesting for Pandora Box. So that was that. And well, next Wednesday, again, some community games. So far it looks like I'm probably gonna be doing rather wobbly games, if there are gonna be any, of course, or if not, then recorded games, because I don't have the game and definitely not the early access. No, and we'll see what's gonna happen after. If I'm gonna be winning it somewhere or what happens, we will see about that in the few weeks to come. But you're gonna be, of course, able to enjoy Retold in many places. Everybody's gonna be streaming that and hoping for the money that they are, thinking that they are owed for playing Age of Mythology for all those years. It's gonna be really funny to see how they're gonna be trying to sell their stream as the best one. But well, nonetheless, up to you, of course, what you want to be supporting and what are you gonna be enjoying. So again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Omer, for the follow. I've been Blackadder at Blackadder's Place. Hope you enjoyed and see you later.